Hi guys, thought I'd make a little lockdown video about how to restring a guitar. It's something that I often see people struggle with, and I just thought I'd share what I know with you. So first thing I like to do, obviously get a guitar, but I usually put a couple of cushions down so that when I put the guitar down, if you can see that, I can kind of lay the neck down on, take the strings off. Hopefully you all know enough to know that you just unwind them here. I'm not going to bore you with 20 minutes of me unwinding the strings, so I'll stop here and come back to it when I've unwound them. Okay, so that's all the strings detached. What I generally do is pick them up as a whole, and then I'll just lay them back all the other way so they're right off the front of the guitar and the sound hole's left exposed. The most common mistake people make at this point is they grab a pair of pliers when these pins are a little bit too tight. I was going to show you what you should do so you don't ruin your guitar already. Okay, so really all you need is a teaspoon. I'll show you what you do. You just pop the teaspoon into the sound hole. A little bit difficult to do one-handed with the camera, but then you can just pop them up from underneath. So that's all of those loosened. I generally like to lay them out in the way that they came out so that the same peg goes back into the same hole. It just depends on how old your guitar is. Sometimes the holes do have different sizes, so it just helps you out later on, and also the strings do wear different grooves into them, so not super important, but it's worth doing if you can. We've got the strings off, the pins out. Obviously the guitar's a little bit dusty. I mean, I'd suggest as simple as like some Pledge or some sort of spray polish, a soft duster, and you can just take all that off. And just, I'll probably get a little bit controversial. There are lots of products on the market. Everyone's trying to empty your wallet with stuff that they say is going to clean your guitar. I use a teaspoon to get my pins out, a Leatherman for my strings for cutting and trimming stuff. I use wire wool for cleaning the neck, as well as a little bit of lighter fluid, and I use olive oil to dress it, and I'll show you how we go through that. So first thing we're going to do, obviously be careful if you're using someone else's cushions, but for this purpose we're fine. Just put a little bit of the lighter fluid along the neck. All that's there for is to help you lift off any grease that's kind of gathered over time. And you're literally just going to, with a small cloth, bit of, you know, it doesn't really matter what you use, to be honest, as long as it's not too rough. I'm using a bit of kitchen towel, but I mean, look at that dirt, that's disgusting. That's all finger oils and grease and stuff, so you definitely want to get rid of that. But you might want to use some very fine wire wool. Now, this is really good for cleaning up your frets, and it will take off any really hard, bad dirt that you've got on there. So I'm just going to give that, and you're just gentle with it. You know, you don't want to ruin your guitar. Just gently over all the frets. Again, I'm not going to show you this for half an hour. You know, you get the picture. You don't want to ruin the thing. You just want to gently use it just to clean all the way over. It's no problem using it on the wood. You're not taking off excessive amounts of anything that you'd even be able to notice. You just want to get all the dirt and grime off there, okay? I'll come back when I've finished. I'm going to show you a little bit closer. You can see here, there's a little bit of dirt, corrosion, stuff that's, you know, from the strings that have been left on there a little bit too long. And if you just take the wire wool, clean that right off. Once you've finished with the wire wool, just get your cloth. Just make sure you take off any little bits of stray metal that's left on there. Now I'll just show you up here where we've used the lighter fluid. You can see how the wood's dried out a little bit and got a little bit lighter. That's no problem. That just means you've got it nice and clean. And we're going to resolve that next, again, using something cheap and household. So there you can see just a little bit of olive oil on the paper. and then just start wiping it into the wood. Doesn't take any real effort, it'll just slide right over there. You'll see where the wood needs it, it will just soak it up and it will stay nice and shiny like that. And at this stage what I do is I'll just walk away and leave it for 10-15 minutes just to let it dry in there. Okay, so while that's drying, there is something we can look at up here, which is basically, if you can see these nuts on the machine heads, sometimes these can come a little bit loose and you'll notice that the washer might be moving around a little bit. So it's pretty important to keep those nice and snug. So if you feel any of those are coming a little bit loose, you need to get a spanner that's the right size. I wouldn't say get a pair of pliers. You don't want to ruin your guitar. I didn't have to tighten any of mine, they were all fine. But notice this, these nice and tight, really, really loose. So you'll see on the end there, there's a little screw, and you just want to screw that in basically. In, you'll see you've got a nice, firm, smooth movement on those. You don't need to screw them in too hard at all. You know, certainly don't start putting any major pressure on it. It's just literally turn it till, you know, you feel some proper resistance and then just stop. Okay, so we're back again and it's time to put some strings in. So this is going to be difficult one-handed, but basically, you know, insert the string and you drop the peg in like that. Now what I like to make sure though is that inside, which will be difficult to show you, the string's not left hanging, dangling about. No, it's too dark to show you that way, but as you put it in and press the peg into place, make sure you've brought the little toggle at the end of the string far enough up it that it's not left in there wanging around and it isn't going to give you loads of vibration when you're playing later on. There's nearly all the strings in, but you can see what I mean. Like there's movement there. On the thinner strings you can certainly feel it. So just, it's worth putting your hand inside. Just make sure that as you push that peg down, the string's as high up as it can be. And just push that in so it's nice and firm. They don't always hold in perfectly, and sometimes you've got to play around with them as you're tightening the strings in place, but we'll look at that as we go. To a reasonable tightness, you can just trim that off. I mean, literally right at the machine head. You don't need anything protruding. You know, these are the sort of things that you take people's eye out on if you've got them too long. That's perfectly fine, that totally does the job. And we'll just get the other 5 strings on and then I'll come back to you again.